get ready and count down with the plugs.
I'm just waiting for our special guest. Today we're going to be interviewing a New York film director, guys from Africa, and he wrote a book in 2012 called Brothers Don't Travel, and he's going to be talking about that book today. Really excited to hear about his 3 years in Israel.
Hey!
What's going on? Just giving Ken a few moments here. What's going on, Chris?
I'm excited for this story from Ken today. I'm excited, to say the least. We had a great talk with him the last time, and it just was good perspective to hear from Ken. He gave a lot of insight and a lot of helpful information about, how to navigate through life and to be mindful of the folks that you're encountering with and the folks that you're holding closely, the folks you call your friends, because they do have an effect on your life and your path and your purpose. They can either help you or hurt you. So excited to hear what else Ken has to share with us today.
If you haven't already made it by our website, make sure you do, theplugspodcast.com, and sign up to join the community forum. Just a safe place, kind of like Facebook, for you to come and post and share, testimonies and things that you're going through, and you reach out to other folks, make friends. There's many people there that are already signed up across the world, so great place to make international friends.
And don't forget about the shirts. Get you some shirts, hats.
DM if you like a shirt, around $20 or so. We're going to have more products on our website.
Oh, glad you asked that question, Evan. So Evan asked us if we've done anything in our local community recently. We'll be putting up some footage of that, but I would say the plugs. We had a great Saturday yesterday. In the midst of everything going on, we spent a couple hours driving around here in Jacksonville and found some folks that were on the street and some folks that just needed help, and we spent some time with them fellowshipping and giving out bags.
Like 100 bags or so.
Yeah.
Socks, water, toothbrushes, a lot of good stuff that someone that's living on the street would love to have to get them through the day. It's a really good experience to see a lot of smiley faces out there during these times. They're still spreading joy themselves, even though they might have a job or might not have a home. They're still smiling, and that's really good for us to see. Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited to do that again. And for everyone that's watching, if you want to join us, please send us a note. If you have any new ideas how to reach out to the community, please send us a note. Ultimately, this is the Plugs Podcast. This is live show. We like to do live shows. He's here, man. I'm really happy to have him. That's what's going on here. This is the film director. He's currently in the New York area, and he's from Africa. And we're going to be speaking today about his book, Don't Travel. Hey, Ken. It's good to have you.
I don't even recognize this guy. Hold on now.
Sharp. Woo!
Oh.
Looking good, man.
Yeah, I know. I snuck into a barbershop finally.
Hey, well, I wouldn't know. Looked like you did.
No, it was bad, man. It was like 2 months, no cut. Last time I talked to you, literally, I went out, I found this Dominican barbershop. They had to open up the gates and just, be quiet. Let's do this really quick. It's a $5,000 fine to have your business open right now. So, thank you. I'm not saying any names. I'm just saying thank you.
Hey, well, shout out to the person that hooked him up. Can't say the name, but you know who you are.
That's right. That's what's going on. How you been the past week? How you been in this past week since part 1?
Look at the world we live in, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. I'm okay. It's just the city, man. Everything happens. You gotta have faith in humanity.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, let me not leave it on that somber note. I'm just saying you have to have faith.
Yeah. No, I mean you're great though. I mean, I love the content that you've been putting up. You said, ultimately you've been using your phone because you didn't want your equipment to get destroyed, and I appreciate that, because you're trying to show us the best positive stuff that you can. I mean, I know you've seen some stuff going out there that you appreciate.
I've seen a lot of crazy, like as far as this last week or in life in general. Because this week has just been like, yo,
Yeah.
New York City is on fire, man.
Yeah. 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 Literally.
And I,
Literally on fire, because we had that down here.
yeah, no, literally, not figuratively. I mean, literally on fire. Essentially, what happened was I took time to actually attend. I don't know. I think it was a Black Lives Matter. I attended Black Lives Matter rally starting in Harlem, all the way down to the Upper East Side, which is, it sounds like it's really like from pretty much 125th to like the East 70s, and then I ended up in University Square Park, Union Square Park, which is like around the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So like pretty much everywhere in Manhattan, from the top to the bottom. All of these protests yesterday. And it was just like a lot of pent up emotion. I didn't even know how I felt about it after actually I'm gonna write an article on academia.edu just to like clear my like to process the experience. But it was sad because it was like it's not what I expected out of a rally or a movement.
Yeah.
Because you look at all these old civil rights like videos and you see people marching and you see people singing songs, and then you see like someone giving like this big motivational speech. You're not getting any of that. You're not getting any big motivational speech. You're just getting some people who like have good intentions, who are just like, change the system, this and that, chanting. And then you got some other people who are straight up anarchists who go up in the face of cops, forgive me for cursing, like, "You officer." And I'm just like, what part of the game is this? What part of the movement is it? So it's like, and then I look at it objectively, and I'm like, okay, I can see how this movement could be misconstrued anywhere in the media, because you have one group of people who genuinely are about that. And then you got jokers who just want to watch the world burn, like literally. And it was just like, what, and you try to figure out like where you belong in this hodgepodge of people, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm kind of over this. Like after the day, I was like I want to protest, but this don't seem like it's the right way, because there's good people here. Oh my God, but I'm not gonna quote Trump. That was like the worst. I'm not gonna quote Trump, but I'm saying like it was just like there were generally people there who just wanted to mess stuff up. They literally were just there, and then there were some really good people who are frustrated with the situation, and thankfully there are more of them than others. But I don't know. I just don't think that's the right way to go about with change. And it could have been done. The group needs leaders. The group needs a leader. That's really what it was. It was just like they need like some kind of like overall national head and someone who can voice and champion that. But without just a bunch of like liberal, well-wishing people, with little sprinkles of anarchists, and these anarchists are the ones who seem to take over. Oh, yeah. Chloe, what up? How you doing? Shout out. Yeah.
Shout out. Hey.
That was a positive note, though. I mean, you did end it with a positive note. At the end of the day, people need a leader.
Yeah, and one of the biggest pain points for me with seeing all these rallies, and I mean, it's beautiful to see a slight form of unity, so to speak, right, happening here in all these other states and all these other countries. So everyone's fighting for the same purpose in a sense, right? But the biggest pain point for me is, how are you going to change your behavior after the fact, right? How are you going to spread love after the fact? You go to this rally and you want to stand up and unite for this, but 3 days later, I guarantee if someone says something to you the wrong way, you're going to have a bad reaction. You're not going to act out of love.
I had that already. Like, seriously, because it's so crazy, because you're in the middle of these like, I don't want to say riots, but yeah, hell with it. Like, literally yesterday, I went from Harlem. I started off like early morning. I experienced thing that was happening in Manhattan. I tried to like get experience all the way from Manhattan, um, Union Square Park, from like the top of Manhattan. I was like, okay, let me go experience these protest movements. Let me see what change is being brought about, what people are actually trying to do to like, and it's like I mentioned, it's just like people there are frustrated, angry about the police killings, angry about the over policing, but then you have the anarchists who just want to burn, blow things up, destroy cars, spit in the face cops, and then it's like, yo, this is about to get real at any moment. Like literally, like when they started marching through with the billy clubs, I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and back up. So that was just my experiences yesterday. I personally think that, you know, whoever's in your community, I would never. I don't think I'd consider myself Black Lives Matter if I had to like label any movement I was a part of. I don't think I'd be that. I would just say that I'm with the moral right, and you know, I try to like
Yeah.
follow. I try to live my life with like these three words: don't be a dick. That's pretty much like, you know, I don't like the religious aspect of whatever else. You can hold it off, but you know, just don't be a dick. And I think morality is something where, you know, we all inherently have. I believe that. And just at the end of the day, don't be a dick. Like, really, I think if all religion could be boiled down to those three words, we all would not have any problems as far as like moving forward. Because it's like, hey, is that dickish? I'm not gonna do it. You know, that kind of thing.
There you go.
But
So,
but you can't do that on a Sunday. So let me, you know, back that up.
it's all
Yeah,
right,
no
man. It's no
worries.
big deal. Oh man, just be yourself. So, I purchased your book. I made sure I got paperback because I want it on the shelf. So that bad boy is on the way.
Booyah!
So this is really special for me because we get to hear something special from you, the one that wrote the book. I haven't even read it yet. It's on the way in the mail, and I get to hear a personal experience from you. I mean, that's wonderful. And everyone that's listening right now, we're speaking to the author of Brothers Don't Travel. He spent about 3 years in Israel, and he's going to speak more about that with us today. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, this was like I was, you know, a young man trying to find myself. Handful of money from working because when I was in the streets, I'm sorry, stayed in the States, stayed in the streets. What? Stayed in the States. I I essentially was home with my folks, and I just worked and saved. And with all the time saving, like, you know, obviously you're not paying rent back then. Like, you know, 18, 19, paying rent, all the money goes to you. I just had a lot of capital to be able to like travel. I would like work for like 2 months, take the money. And when I say work for 2 months, it literally meant like I would be here in the States and not do anything. It was like, okay, if I can get a double shift, I'm working double shift. So my travel was that. It was come back, work as much as you can, take off, and go explore the world. Yeah, there's a cover picture of me and the Star of David. I thought it was a really provocative cover. Other image is Tel Aviv, because those two cities are like a duality which you find within the country, where Jerusalem, everyone knows, oh my God, Jerusalem, you know, 3,000 years of world history of like people coming in and out of there. You know, you go through the streets and you're like, oh, Napoleon was there. You know, Alexander the Great supposedly marched through this area. And uh,
Wow.
Ernest Hemingway was over here. Or what do you hear? Mark Twain used to go to that spot over there. These are these are things which you will hear and you will experience when you're in Jerusalem. This is like you're surrounded by all of this history, and you're like, wow, this is where I'm at. You know, and it humbles you. You know, it really humbles you, and then you just get a chance to see it. It is because the city itself is very beautiful. Um, they have an ordinance within the city where you can't build any structures over a certain height, and they use the same building material, which is this white limestone, and it's like by law they have to build white limestone. So it sort of maintains this pseudo authentic look to it because of that look. It doesn't look like a modern city because of it, because of the way that they try to preserve the way the buildings look. You know, if you follow me, like you see like the Roman ruins, and you're just like, wow, that's a Roman bathroom. That's interesting. Like or you know, you see like old crusader swords and knickknacks, which are authentic, still being sold. You know, and then I had the opportunity to volunteer on a archaeology dig. You know, things like which I'm serious. Like this is just like, yeah, these kind of cool things. But I wrote about my experiences, just primarily, you know, being an outsider, a foreigner in the country, and wanting to, you know, share my experiences, which were really, really different. Like, for instance, like I don't know how much you know about the modern state of Israel, but obviously they've had issues with the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. You know, as far as like one side being Muslim, one side being Jewish, and I avoided that entirely. Well, not entirely, I avoided most of that in my writing because you know I didn't fall into either camp. I have a lot of friends who are Israeli, who are Jewish Israeli, who are Jewish American, you know, but at the same time, I kept it as neutral as possible because, like, I'm not trying to, like, be the spokesman for any particular group. I'm just like, hey, I'm the guy who walked into the party and I'm just here in the middle and this is just like what I see. It's like if you see people, it's like you have a Russian standoff and you just walk into the room, okay, and you're just like there now. You're like, I don't know what's going on here, but I just came to chips. You know, I just want the chips off the table. I'm not like here to, you know, just giving you an idea of like how I saw everything. But I, you know, treat everyone with respect. Essentially, um, one of the things like I noticed was like you go to Israeli shopping centers or you go anywhere in public and there's always a long line for security because they have to check your bags and they have to check you as a person because you know you might have an explosive device, want to blow yourself up because that's a thing that they worry about a lot. But I'm black and I show up at a place, it's like no security lines. I don't stand in security line. There was never a security line. It was just like, this is weird. Like literally you have a long line queue of people and the security, I'm sure it might have changed now, you know, maybe after this book or maybe after me running my mouth, but it was always just like, just go ahead. Go ahead. You know, I'm like, okay, this is weird. You know, like it's like everyone else is standing in a queue of long line, Americans, whoever else. And you're just like, oh, because they have encountered there are either celebrities or basketball players. You know, and so I'm 6 foot even. But I'm so they just assumed at the time a little bit lankier back then. So it was oh basketball player, and they just like let me cross. Even crossing into like like not I don't want to say dangerous because it's gonna put Palestinian people in a bad light. But I'm saying places which are a little bit more risky, like crossing into the West Bank. Like I forgot my passport once, and you can cross in without a passport, but getting out is gonna be like a little bit of an issue. So I'm just like it's easy to cross in without a passport. It's not like I'm like some nut job who just did that. It was like literally like I took a bus and you know the bus got off in Ramallah and now I have to get back and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Of course, they have soldiers on the border because they're like worried about people coming up and blowing themselves up. You know, trying to you know like to fight for Palestinian rights that way, which I don't know if it's the best way. No, it's not the best way to go about fighting for your rights. But that kind of thing will happen. And I remember I went to the border one time, and I'm just standing there. Oh my god! And then I'm like, and like it was just like I have to with my filmmaking. I have to make a film about just the interaction at the border this one day because literally you have like this old Palestinian guy, a whole Palestinian family standing around, and you can pan from left to right. I just have it in my mind already. And you see old Palestinian guy, like you see goats, you see sheep. Then all of a sudden, you see me with my backwards hat and my line. And it was just like the most odd, out of place like scenario because I'm just standing there in line, and I'm just like, I go up to the guy, and he's like, "So you have your passport?" I'm like, "Listen, man. Okay, funny story. I crossed over I don't have my passport on me. And he's like, but I'm American. I swear I'm not. And he was just like, you're American? I'm like, yeah. And then he was like, what's the baseball team in Chicago? I don't watch sports. So I'm just like, fuck, this is like going to be horrible. I'm like, what's the baseball team in Chicago? And I'm like, of course, I'm from Chicago. So this is like perfect. I knew this one. I'm like, yeah, the Sox. And he's like, okay. And then he was like, then he asked me some random questions. I think I rapped. I think I rapped a little bit of like Snoop Dogg. This is how bad it was. And then he was like, okay, you can go. And it was like, no pay your passport. Yeah. So those are some important. So it was just like 1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Dogg. I'm American. Like, okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
It's like, you can't fake that, you know? It's like, okay, you can, like, I don't think they're training terrorists in that, in anywhere place, you know? Yeah.
Evan's asking about a
yeah.
Jewish rapper. Ever heard of Nissim, black Jewish rapper living in Jerusalem?
Have you
I heard that.
I've heard of him, actually. He's a guy who converted over. I've never met him, but I've heard of him. I'd love to shoot a video for him next time I go back to Israel. That would be really cool, actually.
There you go.
Hey,
Yeah,
Nissim,
next time I go.
shoot a video for you.
You try to grab to tag him now. Done.
I do know one cool dude though, Segol 59. That's a rapper in Jerusalem, Jewish dude, really cool dude, amazing, guy who actually took me around the city. Segol, which means purple in Hebrew, really cool dude. I know a little bit of Hebrew still. Amazing dude. Jerusalem is just beautiful. There's good things about the city, and there's also horrible things about the city. Like, I talk about this in my book. There's a culture, since it's an international city, there's so many international people who are in the city. You have a thing called Crack Square. And Crack Square is like the very center of Jerusalem off of Rehov David. Rehov David, Rehov means street, David is street, David, obviously. So King David Street, Rehov David. So in the middle of Rehov David, you have this open courtyard. And since Jerusalem's national city, most people you encounter there have money, come from money, or are tourists who, because this is not like a destination for people who don't, like, you know. And there's a lot of these kids who come from well-to-do families, who happen to be Jewish, who go back and they study in Jerusalem, go to school and university there, and they mostly congregate in Crack Square. So this is where you would see like Americans. So if you like if you in Israel, this is where you'd see American kids. And I'm talking about like obnoxious, like drinking 40 ounces, smoking cigarettes, because it's the first time away from home. And, you know, they're like free because it's a very safe country, you know. And so they're just free in Crack Square, like smoking cigarettes and wilding out. And they're just like really, really obnoxious, like they're away from everything. And that's one thing I remember talking about, because I'm like, oh, I try to avoid this square, because like as soon as like it's just being black and walking through that, oh my god, it was always a thing, and like a racist thing. It was always like some douche kid from like the upper east. Like, all right, man, just don't talk to me, man. Just go back over there to your friends. Like somebody wants to be cool, you know, that kind of thing. I recall that. I had a friend, Nathan, who was an Israeli. Like one day, we were hanging out we were hanging out at a mutual friend's house, and I was hanging out with these two Israeli soldiers, and they had had a little bit too much to drink. And then I have a license, but I didn't have a license to drive in Israel at the time. And then Nathan is like, hey man, Ken, would you mind driving my car, please? I'm like, yeah, of course I can drive. No problem. Cool, yeah, absolutely. So I completely agreed. It's a stick shift. Don't know how to drive stick. So I'm in the car going up in this city called Haifa, which like goes around a hill. And I'm trying to like maneuver and trying not to hit cars this is like just something I wrote about in the story. We finally get back to his place. We park the car. Every building by law in Israel has a bomb shelter in the basement. That's also part of it. Like There's things like that. Every building has a bomb shelter. Every office building has an AK-47, Uzi. These are things
Wow.
which, like, you get used to seeing people with guns too. It's just because it's like, everyone is in the military, so surprisingly, you don't have the same rate of like gun violence we do because everyone's been to the military and weapons are just like the norm. So we go into his house, and then, oh my God, I said his name. I didn't say his last name. We go into his house. We go into to the room, and then he pulled this. What was it? It was an M60, I believe. He pulls out the
Wow.
M60, but it's normal. People always have guns in Israel. This is just a normal thing, right? But we're at the top
Wow.
of, and the mountain is called Dan Carmel, so you can see all over the city. So he takes his gun, no bullets, nothing inside, but he holds it out the window, and then he like checks out the scope, like, hey man, you can see into the harbor, like right now. Like, you want to check out the harbor? I'm like, no man, I'm not about to be the guy looking out the window holding that thing just because I want to see the harbor. But you have to understand, like, what it was just, he was being a kid, but there was nothing in the gun. It was like he's trained, but it's hard for people who haven't been in the military, like, to be around those kind of weapons. And because, like, yeah, you see AK-47 against the wall there, and you're just like, all right, cool. I used to have girls who would just like, you go to their house and they just like plop their weapon down, and you're just like, wow, it would freak me out in the beginning, but then after a while, it's like, all right, whatever. So we go hang out, end up, like, we're making a lot of noise. We ended up going downstairs to the basement in the bomb shelter. And in the bomb shelters where most young people have parties, where people have like events, because it's the quietest place you can hang out and you're not necessarily, making noise for people upstairs. Granted, this is like 20, 21, 22. So these are like, this is where kids would go to hang out. And you just like, and it was just a beautiful experience, sitting around, being young, talking to people about, like, life, girls, like, oh man, do you remember that other party at this other kibbutz that we went to, and that kind of thing. These are the kind of stories which you're gonna get from my book. It's not gonna be like some random, oh, because of this roadside bombing and that. No, it's more like generally along the lines of people and my experiences, like going into
Yeah.
helping a friend move, another friend, Adi, helping him move and going into a bomb shelter and seeing a baby gas mask from the war with Iraq. And that was
Wow.
like, because I'm like helping him move like a couch, like we're literally walking through the streets of Tel Aviv carrying a couch. And, as when we went to pick up the couch, I'm like looking through and I see like this little baby gas mask, and just like putting those two things together and seeing all of this like prep gear for, like, war really happens. These are the
Yeah.
people you see on television. These are the people that get affected by these kind of scenarios. Like, it's not just faceless individuals. Like, people live with this kind of thing, and like thinking about my experiences during the first Gulf War and then his experiences. For me, I just come to America, a couple snippets on television about like Katyusha rockets going off here and there. Okay, that's one. But then being in that basement and you're like, there's a gas mask for a baby. When you see that and you hold it, you
Okay.
realize, like, it's for a baby, man. It's not even for like, like a grown man who could do something. It's like for a baby.
Yeah, I can't imagine it
Walk
affects you mentally
away.
seeing something like that. You never forget something like that.
Yeah. And then there were other times, like, I held all of this in. I went home and I just like exploded to my computer and started writing everything, because I was like, look, I gotta share my experiences. You gotta do something with it. You can't just go back to like 9 to 5 world and just be like, okay, that was cool. This is the world we live in now. No, you gotta like take this and like give it to people and have them understand that, hey, in this crazy universe of humanity, we're all the same. We all have the same wants and needs. We just have to going about it religiously, spiritually, whatever. But like, I sit in the room with an Israeli person. I sit in the room with a Palestinian person. I sit in the room with a Hasidim, straight Hasidic. I've been the only person who's not Hasidic in a room before. And it's like, other people are like, oh, what is this? I'm just like, whatever. I spent like Purim dancing in the streets with the Hasidim. That was cool as hell. There's like a sect of like Jewish people with tesis and the hats. There's so many different
Yeah.
sections. Like these particularly go dancing on Purim, and I remember I like one night we just like got in the streets, like I'm serious, like just dancing. It was like a beautiful night, beautiful experiences like that. You know, yeah. There was
And we're talking about Brothers Don't Travel right now. This is an awesome book. You can catch it on Amazon. You can also get it on Kindle for less than $10. I like paperback, so mine's on the way. But again, Amazon, Brothers Don't Travel. Check it out. We're talking to the author right now. There's some amazing content in this book. You got to get it. So, what else is in this book?
Oh my goodness, there's so much. I don't even want to begin because there's so many cool things. Like, okay, first thing I'll explain is a kibbutz. Like you have kibbutzes, which were like Jewish settlements, which were set up like, think about like a small village or small city, like where it's sort of communism, kibbutz, communist. They're all like old Russian thing where people would like work towards the greater good of the community. You know, so if people have kids, they have a daycare. They have older people will take care of the daycare. People would like work on the farm or the industrial equipment here because since it's such a desert, there's a lot of desert in the country. There's a lot of these irrigation projects where people have like literally like brought the desert back to life by building these like lush greenhouse gardens to grow these crazy fruits which you wouldn't expect to grow there, but in the desert. You know, like you can go get like mangoes or you get bananas or oranges. And yeah, these are like things where you need a lot of irrigation. So they've done a lot of things with seawater purification. And go to these kibbutz and they're all like outside the big city and just experiencing them. And there's certain kibbutz which are just known as like the party kibbutz, where you go there because that kibbutz has a nightclub, or that kibbutz has like the desert rave culture where people can go. You know, Burning Man we have here, they have their own like thing which is like Burning Man. There's always a desert festival, you know, where people can just go out into the middle of nature and you know, either do mushrooms or whatever else and just commune. This is like, I'm trying to give you an idea of like, and this is, there's so many different layers to Israel. There's the religious, uber religious Jewish layer. There is the touristic, Jerusalem, and then there's the completely European Tel Aviv. So much that place is like Barcelona. I don't even know if you guys travel. Barcelona, Barcelona mixed with Rio de Janeiro. That's the best way. That's what Tel Aviv is, because it was modeled after Rio de Janeiro. And I remember when I was in the water I was in Brazil in Rio. Like I gone to Israel first, but then when I went to Rio, it was like 3:00 in the morning. I'm in the water in Rio. I get out of the water and I turn around, and I just spun around so quick. I'm like, am I in Tel Aviv? And I realized, like, oh my God, this looks exactly the same, just a little smaller in I know, just a little bigger. And then I talked to an architect who was telling me about how they had modeled the Tel Aviv coastline, specifically on the beaches of Rio, in Copacabana. And then you're like, wow, okay, I get it now, you know.
Yeah.
Omega,
Well,
salut mon frère, salut. Mais quand je vais retenir là-bas, nous allons faire un projet grand, tu comprends? Oi, Patrícia, sempre com respeito para você, sempre com orgulho para toda a gente aqui comigo, French and Portuguese. No Spanish.
you, bro.
Yeah, cool.
Bless you. I'm curious about the transition back. I mean, coming from something like that, going through all these experiences, all
3
those
years.
interactions, 3 years, and then you come back. Oh, well, you've traveled to many places, but so how is it? Yeah, overall, coming back to the States after absorbing all of that.
I say it's very difficult in personal life. I find it to be very difficult at times, specifically because you can't just like regurgitate this kind of information in conversations. You know, you can't just like open up and be like, oh, hey, this is what you know, like for instance, like I remember I went on a date and what is it? I think this girl wanted to try like I think I want to try like Argentinian cuisine or something like that. But I've been in Argentina for like 5 months. I never mentioned it. You know, I had to like, I had to like, you know, you have to hold back who you are and hold these things back and just be like, okay, that's cool. And sometimes even when people tell you stuff which is wrong and you know it's wrong, you just have to like accept it and not correct them, because you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're just like, oh, did you know? Actually, the reason that they, you know, that becomes a thing too. And I don't really want to be a douche. So back to my religion. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I don't really want to like sit there and like overcorrect people all the time. So, you know, at this point, it's like you meet people and you like listen to what they have to say and your understanding. And maybe every now and then, you know, if it comes up down the line, because there've been times people have added me on Facebook and then they'll be like, holy shit, or oh my goodness, I didn't know that. And then they're like, why didn't you ever? Because I'm like, I don't want to be that guy sitting in a room. It's like, yeah, what you said was wrong. In fact, the reason because who wants to be friends with that guy? You know, just like some like I feel like Wilson off of Tool Time. If you guys remember that show, you know.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Wilson would look over the gate like this.
Yeah, Wilson, the neighbor who had experienced so much in life, and he come through with advice, and that's what I got to at a point where it's like you've done
Hey,
so
Lloyd.
much, and you just don't want to be the one in the room all the time. Like, listen, if you want to talk about it, talk about it. But if not, I'm just gonna vent it in other ways, put it in my art, in my Instagram, because like without it, I almost view it like as a form of therapy now, where it's like I get a chance to like meld all my worlds together. Like I create these video African music on top of images of Rio de Janeiro, or on top of images of Brothers Don't Travel. C'est mon expérience là dans le pays d'Israël. Si tu veux lire l'histoire, tu peux acheter pour le livre dans le Amazon. C'est un livre très fort de mon expérience là-bas. Merci beaucoup. Je suis un anglophone camerounais. Pardon mon accent, mais je suis ici. On est là. Okay, I'm here. Cool.
How many languages do you speak altogether?
Yeah, tell us.
I mean, okay, there's different things because, like, in the American sense, you say like, "Oh, I know this," and it's only a few words. But like, I don't need English for at least 5. You know.
Wow.
No, man, it's just, but it's like if you travel a lot, it's just one of those things that just gets like sucked into you. So now it's like I hang out and I'm like, okay, I can pick things up very, very quickly. You know, give me like 3 months and I'm sure you give me like a good, not I mean to say 3 months. Give me like 6 months in Japan and I'll be dancing. For sure.
Wow. I can see that though. Once you pick up, you know, an extra 1 or 2 or 3, the others just kind of fall in line. You just need some time, and then you can pick it up quickly.
It's vocabulary, word structure, and then from there you figure it out. Like you learn the main phrases, like where can I get some food? What is your name? How are you? Can you help me with? You learn these full sentences, and then you start with the other stuff. And then things I would do in the past was like write out the name of everything and just like put it in sticky notes around the apartment. And then so you just walk around and you see that. And you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what that is. And that's what that is.
See, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What else you got for us like that? I like these learning processes.
Yeah.
In terms of like language and memorization, to be honest, it's not having fear of failure. Like the fear is something um, which hinders people's growth with many languages. Like for instance, like I can communicate in Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish because like I speak Portuguese, which is close enough. But I speak Portuñol, and I went through Colombia the entire time, like Portuguese, Portuñol. It was like because if you're willing to put in an effort and you can generally like struggle along, people are willing to help you, and then you learn as you go. You know, you learn as you go, and then from there you can kind of have a base. Like you don't understand like a word, you're like, okay, And also the main thing I would say is if you, it's easier to learn languages when you're in a place where you don't use English. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
Yes.
use English at all, and I fight the attempt to use English. Like I remember I went through Colombia 3 days, no English whatsoever. Like I was like, I don't care if I don't understand how to communicate. I'm gonna like use my hands and listen to you say it to me, repeat it a couple times, and get it. So I would say ignore and forget English whatsoever if you want to learn a language, or find a meetup group and spend time where it's not. How do you say no? You don't say that. Comment tu dis, like you maintain in the language. Just learn. First thing you learn in that language is how do you say this, that phrase itself. How do you say,
Mhm.
learn that
In that,
phrase,
yeah.
learn that phrase, jump into an environment and forget English. You're a baby. You
Wow.
don't know English anymore. With that one phrase, that will lead you on the path to where you need to go. You know?
Hear that, folks? That's true. That's such a true concept because babies have no understanding of anything else other than what you're giving to them, right? So it's like when a baby grows up and their parents only speak Spanish or French or German or Russian, and then they go to school and they learn their English. Well, they're a sponge because at home they know they can't speak English with their parents, and at school they know they can't speak Russian, German, or whatever with their classmates or their teacher. So they have to just learn as they go. So I like that you describe that way because I mean, that's exactly what we should be doing. But we always use that crutch, right? How do you, you know, but it's a good point. We can't be afraid to fail, which I think many of us struggle with.
How do you say, like, how do you say is also like one of those phrases. Then you could play with it, and you also feel a little bit about learning the language because of that phrase. Because now you have, like, then you can even add other things to it. Like, pardonnez-moi, comment tu dis? Like, excuse me, how do you say, like, then you're like, oh, in a conversation with someone, you like have a real sentence. It's not just, and then you're learning more words. Like, okay, now I can say dog. Now I can say this. And then the phrases build from that. And then you get your basic vocab, and 3 months you're cooking.
Hey, you you have some top dishes you like to cook. You said cooking.
Oh wow, we're talking about food.
Hey,
Coconut.
that's usually the top of the line subject for me. So,
Coconut, like okay. In terms of Brothers Don't Travel in Israel, most of the food I had was hummus. Hummus was life.
Love
Hummus was
hummus. Yes.
mm,
hummus,
Yes.
hummus on everything. Hummus all day. Oh my god, it was just so many funny. I have a chapter called "The Last Golf Crew" because a good friend of mine, Avishai Zalmanovic, I'll even say his name, hold it. He had this apartment on Laskov, which is like a street in Tel Aviv, and that was like the main congregation apartment. That was the hangout spot. There was always like something crazy that happened there, and it was just like so we would go hang out. Like even like all of our encounters, I'll never forget that. It's probably some of the best times, most freeing times in my life up until that point, where like somebody would buy hummus. This is like it's like they'd be gone in like 20 minutes, you know, or like I made the mistake of buying hummus one time, and then someone walked by, and then they had a little bit like, oh, this is horrible hummus. I can't believe you bought this. Like, yeah, this is disgusting, and then it's gone in like 3 minutes. It's just funny to me because it's so bad. You still wanted to eat it, huh? You know.
hey, hummus is delicious and it's good for you.
Yeah. And then there's other times of like just seeing like poverty in Israel, like legit or not legit. Obviously, with all this travel, I still had opportunities to make money. I DJ'd at a nightclub in Tel Aviv a little bit. I also
That's
helped a friend with promoting,
nice.
and sometimes I took on random jobs. And it's weird. I went from writing to now taking all my stories and using them towards the visual medium because I felt like I felt that people didn't necessarily want to. People like to read. There's a lot of people who like to read. As pessoas gostam de ler, Like, les gens aiment lire les livres. But there's also people who want to see things. And I remember I went by this hostel called Hayakon 40. And I was like, I need some work. And it's very expensive to be in Israel. But the pay is very low, oddly enough. But I was able to get a job for 2 days being a lumberjack. 2 days
Wow.
as a lumberjack. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, I just obviously, yeah, I could do that. You know, I'm a tough guy. I'm a big guy. I could do that. So 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, I'm waiting out where I'm supposed to meet this guy. I don't know who I'm supposed to work with. This is a guy who's supposed to, like, you know, help me, take me to the job, and we're gonna be lumberjacks today. So this old Italian Jewish man, I'm gonna make a movie about this guy. The movie's just gonna be our experience in that day. That's all it is, because this is just,
Movies, one day movie, yeah.
because literally this is it. Like, he shows up in an old pickup truck like Sanford and Son, stocky guy looking like Mario. If Mario was a person, it would be him. Italian Jewish guy, and his name is Mario. It was literally the real life Mario. Okay, like literally, because he had the pickup truck, and he's just like, and our communication was like very rudimentary because I don't speak Hebrew, and he's always, you know. So I'm in this truck with this guy, and I'm just like, okay, and he's like, yeah, we're going to cut in the, it's like rudimentary Italian kind of jargon, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I get that, yeah. Sturdy, maybe he's like, say 57, 58, older man, needing help. We go to this town called Ramat Aviv, and the whole job is just to take down this one tree, you know? And it's like, in this area, it's like a village. So there's no men in this one area. Everyone's, I guess, away or whatever. And it's like just a bunch of like women who are in the 30s and 40s, you know? So it's me, and it's just like, you guys okay?
I don't know when it is, but we definitely have a part 3, Ken. We really like hanging out with you, man.
Seriously?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, I don't know if you want to wait until like a month or so, you know, but I'm not sure what you want to talk about, but
Man, thank you. I haven't talked about Africa. I haven't talked about like motorcycling through Nigeria, on through South America.
We can do these stories all day, man.
yeah,
I mean,
anything we can help promote, you know, about what you got going on and what work that you did, because ultimately your work is helping people, and that's what we're here for.
Yes.
It's awesome. I can't believe how we met each other. I'm so happy. I told him today, I said, could you imagine, because we started this off in November, I said, could I tell you that we were going to have a film director from New York to talk about Israel?
I wouldn't have believed him. I'll be honest. I wouldn't have.
So thankful, man.
Seriously. How did you guys started, though? Moise Diaby. Welcome, man. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that correctly.
So you saw Lick Lipper, that's Evan. Him and I will work as recruiters, and then Chris and I helped him become a recruiter. And just in November, we all just met just to meet. And then we came together, and we were like, hey, we got to do something together. And then within like a few weeks, it turned into a podcast. And I think we started out like in March or something.
Yeah, I mean, initially the mission was to help people, you know, inspire people, encourage them. And it's like, how can we reach people we wouldn't normally reach, or the people that are forgotten about, and really give them something uplifting, right?
Yeah.
And the root of that led to eventually, okay, a podcast, okay, a website, okay, let's go out into the community. So a lot of people see the videos and they hear the content, but there's more facets to the podcast. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that people don't see or know about yet.
Yeah.
I'm very supportive of what you guys have going on. I work in the digital medium, of course. I get a lot of my clients for content off of Instagram, so I'm always putting out content now. You know, we're in a very globally, where we're able to other people like-minded idea and do this exchange, which is a very beautiful thing. we're all and we're all able to grow and learn from one. And I think that despite what other podcasts are doing, despite what other people are doing, the clearest way for you to carve a niche, keep on going the course what you're doing, your audience will grow and people will come. That's honestly what it is.
Love that. Thank you for those words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Means a lot.
Everything comes out of you is wonderful.
Yeah.
God.
Oi, Haline, tudo bem?
Doodle bang.
Valeu.
I know that word.
It's good stuff, man. Well, man, I think ultimately where we were at was just like, hey, we enjoy having you and enjoy spending time with you and hearing the things that you got to say and the places you went. We're really excited about part 3. Not sure what it's going to be. We're really excited to tell our guests about it.
Let me know.
Just keep it going, man, because it's some good stuff. But I want you to talk about something that you're like on fire about. I don't know if it's like a new project, whatever you got going, but it'll be about that. You know?
Yeah.
I'll say this right now. I'm going to explain it all. Eu tenho livro. O nome do meu livro é Travel. Histórias de Israel, porque eu morei lá no país para 3 anos. Eu escrevi livro sobre experiências de negro morando lá. I don't know if there's only French speakers in the my name of my book is Brothers Don't Travel, Short Stories of Israel, and I wrote it about experiences of an African man in the Middle East. Non-political. It's just more about people than anything. It's not a political book. I'm not here pushing any kind of, it's literally just a guy walking into a room where everyone has guns on them and I'm grabbing chips on the table. That's literally what it is. I just came in there and just wanted to, share my experiences. One of the things in the book, Brothers Don't Travel, I talk about meeting other Africans, legal immigrants, people who had crossed the Sahara in like pickup trucks. This all is in the book, like in just the quote unquote what it is to be American, what it is to be African. Because yeah, I sound American. I'm as American as you. Like we're all American, but je suis Cameroon. I'm still an African, So it's like the duality of what is in today's modern society. Because people are like, oh well, you don't have an accent. I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't have an accent. That's strong, true. Like I still have experiences which clue me in. Oh, infelizmente meu livro é em inglês, mas eu preciso de fazer uma outra versão em português, mas só em inglês agora. São uma experiências morando lá no Israel. So pretty much it's just like about experiences in Israel. And oh my goodness, Avishai just walked into the room. That's the guy from the last golf.
Hey,
yeah, the last golf store. Yeah. Yeah, you missed the whole thing. Maybe it's better that you weren't here for that. But yeah, so, essentially,
it's posted.
Yeah, I pretty much went on an hour about stuff, and then he just comes in like right when it's all over. Denha, oi, tudo bem? Fala.
Hey.
Você pode estar em Amazon. O nome de livro é Brothers Don't Travel, Short Stories of Israel. Olha só, se você vai assistir o livro, tem uma foto de mim. Em lado, you have Tel Aviv. One side of the book, you have Jerusalem. The other side of the book, you have Tel Aviv. And you have me. Eu tenho uma camisa negra. Eu, lá, com cabelo crespo também. Yeah. Could you show a copy of the book? Na Israel? Thank you so much for having me,
Absolutely.
gentlemen, and we'll get us as far as like traveling through Africa, the jungles of like, yeah, the jungle. We can go into the jungle. Nigeria. I got like the whole crazy experiences of Argentina, Casa de Rosa. Yo, Colombia with the cartel. We have like so many craziness. Yeah.
Can we just get a book for each? Because like this is in our destiny to do a lot of traveling. So it's amazing what you're doing for us.
Yes.
I mean, it's just it's ridiculous. Like we can't even fathom how you're helping us right now.
I don't even know how I'm helping you. I'm talking about the craziness which I've endured, and Avishai is like seeing half of it, and it's just like, all right, man. I just keep going down this rabbit hole, and things keep happening. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, man.
Love it.
Till next time.
Peace, brother.
Until next time, obrigado, sinceramente, meu coração. And agora, Mr. Presidente, I don't know who that is, but cool. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon, eh?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Absolutely. Be dirty, dance clean. The plugs.